It is time for audience questions. First one today comes in via voicemail from across the pond. Let's take a listen to this one and then we will answer it.
Hey David, this is Oliver from Germany. I was wondering if you have any homophobes in your circle of friends. I was watching a lot of your interviews you conducted over the years, and um, I don't know. I was just wondering if you ever started to get in deeper touch with any of those Christian people on a human level, even though you would disagree and you would see them as a homophobe, that you kind of understood their point and kind of got along with them.
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess you get what I mean. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yes, got it. Okay, so listen, are there homophobes in my circle of friends? And by the way, he said, am I ever in touch with Christians like that? And you can be homophobic and not Christian. In
Sure.
fact, my biggest falling out was with a friend who is not Christian and was homophobic. And for about 2 years, I didn't speak to him because we had a falling out when I said something really innocuous like, I'm going to a wedding. And he said, oh, is it a gay wedding? And I said, no, it's not. It's actually because I think he thought there was somebody, a friend of mine
Yeah.
who was gay, who was getting married sometime soon. I said, no, in fact, it's in a state that doesn't even have gay marriage at the time. And he said, oh, good, because I don't believe in that. And I said, what do you mean you don't believe in that? He says, I think it's wrong and I think it shouldn't be allowed. And this was a relatively close friend, and it sort of came out of left field for me. And I said, I'm not friends with people who are intolerant in that way. I have a lot of gay friends, and it would be completely inappropriate and embarrassing for me to be around you and them, and you let slip an opinion like that. So I'm sorry, I can't really be in touch with you.
Wow.
And we didn't talk for years, and years later, he came back to me and said, listen, I'm sorry about that. I was ignorant. I
Huh.
was uninformed. My views have changed. And now this individual has many gay friends, and I have no reason to think that they still hold the same
I
views.
mean, ironically, you kind of broke up with him in a way over the topic of gay marriage.
In a sense, you could say that. In a sense, you could say that. But we are back together now, which
That's
is a
good.
nice thing. So, do I have homophobes in my social circles? Not anybody who's close to me, right? I mean, there's certainly people who I might be involved in business stuff with that I don't know that well, or I'm part of a group that is involved. I'm like part of a poker group in Boston. I don't know the political beliefs of the other people there. There are LGBT individuals in the poker group. It's also possible that there are homophobes in the poker group, but it doesn't come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what about people in your social circles that maybe say that's gay when they mean to say that's stupid or
Not really.
use the F word that's sometimes attributed negatively
Nah,
to homosexuals?
not really. No, those people have basically fallen off. I mean, I think in the few years after high school, I was still sort of around people that I was around merely because we shared common high school friends. But now that my social circle is much more cleanly defined by who I want to spend time with, not who's sort of hanging on as a friend of a friend of a friend type of thing, not really. I did go, as somebody mentioned the Christian thing, I did go to northern rural Indiana a couple weeks ago. And while the topic of gay marriage didn't come up, there is no doubt that a lot of the people I was around with there absolutely believe that homosexuality is a sin, gay marriage shouldn't be legal, etc. But these are not people I associate with in any kind of regular pattern.
Yeah, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, there are no homophobes in my social circles, but maybe so when I was, 11, 12 years old.
I would
And
guess
I
so.
wonder if that has to do with the age that you are. I mean, those kids tend to be kind of ruthless and mean
I
just
think
because
part
they're
of it has
middle
to do
schoolers.
with where you were going to middle school.
Or just the time that we're living in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
10 or so years ago makes a big difference, I think. Now, especially because same-sex marriage is legalized across the whole country, it's a lot more accepted now than it was.
I do think that in general, being in Massachusetts, if you are a progressive minded individual and you live in the most parts of Massachusetts are quite liberal, although not so much where Pat grew up, you're less likely mathematically to be around homophobes, right? Because you're talking about the first state with legal gay marriage,
That's
and you're
true.
talking about a much more progressive state. But that I'm not painting it as a panacea, right? I mean, of
No.
course there are homophobes in Massachusetts, but to the best of my knowledge, I am not closely
Yeah.
associating with any
Now, if
homophobes.
you grew up in Provincetown, you probably wouldn't find any homophobes because they have left already, right?
Why would they go to the gay vacation capital of New England
Yeah.
if they were homophobic? But you
Probably
know
not.
what? There is a kind of local Cape Cod population that is a little more conservative, you know,
Okay.
but you would think they probably would have moved out of Provincetown proper and maybe into some of those surrounding towns or something like that.
Barnstable or Hyannis,
Sure,
perhaps?
yeah, maybe a little further out.